If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe. And don't tell me that God gave up Jesus for adoption.
Yep, this is it right here. Okay, go ahead, caller, with your question. You're live on the air.
Hi, Rabbi. It's Jeffrey from Ohio. My question is, well, my dad is trying to say now that since the genealogies in the Gospels were not questioned by the Jews of the time, like the followers of Jesus, the Jewish followers, that means that they were valid and they understood them, even though they are just completely different.
I don't even know where to begin with that. How do you know Jews didn't question his genealogy? Like, how would you know that? And let's say Jews did question his genealogy. Do you think that the Christian Bible will be happy to say that? I don't think so. And Jews, knowing the genealogies found in Tanakh, who were Christians, we are even told in the Christian Bible, that Jesus' followers were illiterate. In Acts chapter 4, verse 13, we are told explicitly that Peter and John, these are chief evangelists, apostles. They were unlettered. This is not some critic of Christianity. This is the Christian Bible, the canon, the fifth book of the New Testament. What they would know about today, we are living in an information age where people have access. They don't even know that. They don't even understand the problems in the genealogies. Do you think back then, even if you were literate, just for a moment, let's say you were literate in the first century, where would you get a book from? That's not a simple matter. Forget online. A book had to be written manually, hence manuscript, by hand, in order for you to even have one. Written on, if it was a holy book, on parchment, usually didn't have to be, but parchment stuck, you certainly wouldn't write it on a fragile material because you had to pay someone to hand write anything you wanted to read. So what? No. In fact, the only two places that we find the genealogy of Jesus is in the only two books that claim that Jesus was born of a virgin. I'm not kidding. The genealogy of Jesus is found only in Matthew chapter 1 and in Luke chapter 3, which coincidentally are the only two books that stake out the claim that Jesus was conceived supernaturally. And what we are offered up in these contradictory genealogies are genealogies of Joseph, not even of Jesus. Meaning, according to Matthew and Luke, Joseph was not Jesus' father. And don't tell me that God gave up Jesus for adoption. That's silly. And adoption doesn't convey tribe identity. So these genealogies found in Matthew and Luke are completely irrelevant. Not only that, the genealogy of Luke is worthless because it goes through Nathan, the older brother of Solomon. It has to go through Solomon. See 1 Chronicles chapter 22, verse 9 and 10. So that's, I really don't know. It's like sometimes you hear things that are so, and by inference the Jews check, the vast majority of Jews wanted nothing to do with Christianity and very quickly figured out that the teachings of Christianity were false. And that's even conveyed in the Christian Bible from top to bottom. Jews did not believe in this thing, with a very few exceptions. We always have, of every group, people who become apostates. But the overriding theme in the Christian Bible is that Jews did not believe in it. Now, the Christian Bible will assign the most uncharitable reasons why the Jews didn't believe in Jesus. They were blind. They were enemies of God. They were the children of the devil. But he came to his own, and they received him not. Not most of them received him not. No, they didn't. How many Christians were there among Jews in the first century? Nobody knows. It was a very small amount. And you can look, this is a much better inference. You can see in the letters of Paul, and we know who wrote the majority of Paul's letters, and we can assume that almost all of them were written by him. Certainly, I think it's reasonable to say that 10 of the 13 were written by the people who are joining the church are non-Jews for the most part. So it seems, I'm not going to do this, but it's all the evidence is pointing in the direction that Christianity is spreading widely among Gentiles and not among Jews. From the Christian sources, that are hostile, that say hostile witness. So the Jews approved it then, and what am I? I'm going to surrender my frontal lobe to an anonymous first century Jew? So we have no reason to believe that the disciples, whoever the first followers of Jesus were literate. Did the northern part of Israel really produce literate Jews? No. These were fishing villages. These were areas where you would have people who worked with their hands, not literate people at all. And as I said, the Christian Bible concedes that the two of the most prestigious disciples were completely illiterate, without letters, the Greek. Wow, a grammaton. That's very serious. That's Peter and John. Wow. So no, they would have, that means they couldn't read. They couldn't, look, speaking is an innate, and according to most linguists today, speaking is innate and biological. We are hardwired to speak, not to write, and certainly not to read or to write. Reading is not easy. Writing is even more difficult. How many people today could write fairly well who are completely literate? Not many. Most people would be very uncomfortable writing. Then, so this is all very silly. Matthew suffers from mind-blowing problem. Matthew's genealogy is promiscuous. I don't even know what to say about it. Matthew's genealogy deliberately skips generations in order to produce 3 sets of 14 generations. Now, I'm not inserting this into the words of Matthew because I want to characterize Matthew in a way that's unflattering. Matthew says this in Matthew 1, verse 17. The author, whoever wrote Matthew, says all the generation from Abraham and David are 14, from David until the Babylonian exile 14, and from Babylonian exile until Christ is 14. But the way he did that is from Jehoram's son all the way to Uzziah, they're removed. Haziah, Joash, and Amaziah have been omitted. I mean, that's, I don't have words. So the author of Matthew not just invented a genealogy, but tampered with the genealogy, tampered with it, which calls into question his integrity. Like, who would do that? And he did it for a reason. I'm not making this up, my friends. I'm not saying these things because I don't have a positive view of the church. I'm saying because the text displays this. So, anonymous people who lived 2,000 years ago, wait, you don't have a brain? I mean, the fallacy of that we are going to assign a certain, we're going to rely on authority of, look at yourself. This is not complicated. Look it over yourself. And how could Jesus be from the house of David if he was born to a virgin? I mean, obviously he wasn't born to a virgin, but you see how when you make stuff up, you get into trouble. It's like Mark Twain, the I think America's greatest writer, humorist, said that, when you're telling the truth, you don't have to be very smart because you don't have to keep track of everything. When you're making things up, it's just blunder after blunder. So, no, the genealogies let alone how would you have, this is crazy. This is something I never even mentioned, I don't think. But how would you have, it's really 13 generations. Let's say it's 14, I'll just be charitable. How would you have 14 generations over the course of 500 years? From Babylon exile to Christ? What's 500 years divided by 14? What was the average generation was, I don't have the math in front of me, I don't have a calculator, but the average generation would be 40 years? What? It's very silly. Thank you for your question. If you enjoyed this program, please like and subscribe.
אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא ועת נעשה בחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא